Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Pikel with League of Items, and today we saw Gen G and Mad Lions get out of their group. Mad Lions lost their first match on the day and was looking like it was looking like they just weren't going to make it out of the group stage. I'm using lolesports.com today instead of Leaguepedia because Leaguepedia is down apparently. So I don't know if it's going to be as smooth as... Stop that. Okay, they don't really have the stats on here. But basically, in the first game, we saw Birdall for Gen G. It wasn't their fault specifically that the game kind of got out of hand. Mad Lions played around it pretty intelligently. I think that their draft was also pretty good. The thing about this... Wait. Oh, no, I'm thinking about the second game. The second game was Gen G against LNG. That was a shit show. So, Gen G beat Mad Lions.
Drake's gone over.
I was driving when this was on. I was like all over New Jersey today. It was pretty intense. But oh yeah, so Mad Lions, this was a very competitive game. Mad Lions was like around Baron and decided to like coin flip a Baron fight. Gen G won the fight and then won the game. That's kind of what was sketchy about this game, is that Mad Lions did have realistic chances of winning this match. I think overall Mad Lions played really well today, but they also kind of depended on teams being predictable and going around and like going to fight them around objectives. So that's an intelligent thing for Mad Lions because they're the way that they draft around team fighting, having good engage options, having big powerful ultimates, it puts a lot of additional pressure on the players of a team like Gen G to position correctly, especially when they have difficult they have a difficult time engaging with this kind of team composition. That's one thing that you see a lot more from the Eastern teams, I guess, is like a less lower number of engaged champions. And I was trying to think about a way to explain it, and I think that what I'm going to try to call it is like pure League of Legends. Because you have team fighting League of Legends that Mad Lions kind of ascribes to, but then you have pure League of Legends that can sometimes like trick teams into drafting in such a way that is theoretically very powerful, but in practice it's very difficult to execute. So any team composition that is like has a bunch of good matchups in the laning phase, theoretically has a lot of damage against all different damage types, but has really big problems engaging. That's kind of what I think of as pure League of Legends. Not to give it the name pure as in some kind of like thing to say that it's better than team fighting. It's just it's more difficult, and teams that can execute pure League of Legends are asking a lot more of themselves than teams that are team fighting teams. And again, this does not mean that one style is better than the other. It's just one is more difficult than the other. So when you perfectly execute a pure team composition, you should be given more credit in the sense that it was more difficult to do. It's a concept that I have to kind of work on more, but I think that it's the start of something, like, because it's more economics based and it's less about like the easy to project interactions between teams. Because what happens in pure League of Legends is they understand that you're going to have to go to a specific dragon or baron fight, and if you like, whether you're the first team there or the second team there, it doesn't really matter because you will have to interact with the other team. And that's really, honestly, it's one of the benefits of a true team fighting team composition, is that when you're losing, you have better chances to win, because if you're a team fighting team playing against a pure League of Legends team, you have better engage options, and engage is more important, especially when you're losing. So that's a concept that I'll have to work on further. But that was the first game, Gen G against Mad Lions. I think Gen G played well. I think Mad Lions played well. I think Gen G played a little bit better, and their team composition was more difficult to execute. So I'm giving them a little bit of like some bonus points for that, I guess. LNG against Team Liquid. In my video yesterday, I said that I think Team Liquid has a chance to win this match. I really hope Leaguepedia comes back up. It's so much easier to do this with Leaguepedia. Yeah, they're down. Okay, so Team Liquid against LNG. I guess we have to go through this and kind of wait until the. So Alfari got a big lead in this game. The Trundle pick, it was funny. Like Cadril said that he played a lot of Trundle, and it feels really bad against specific types of champions. The reason why you pick Trundle is because you force the E out of Ezreal, and then Ezreal slowed down and still isn't as mobile as they normally are. I think it was just a good pick. You don't get the additional value out of Subjugate and stealing away tank stats, but Trundle is at a spot right now where he can be very aggressive and can pump out a lot of damage depending on how you build him. So I didn't really have any issues with that. I think Tactical played really well when they were in aggressive positions. I think Jensen played really well. He basically dominated Icon in the laning phase. And Alfari did a good job in top lane. I think that one thing that this game made me think about was how much better, or I don't know if it was this game or if it was another Gwen versus Graves game. I think it was Graves against Gwen. I think it was the team with the Gwen just looked like they obviously had so much more power on their side. And they also had better like Baron taking ability, which is kind of surprising. But overall, I think Alfari played well in this match. I think that Santorin played well in this match. I think that Jensen played very well in this match. And the same thing for Tactical and Core JJ. It's like they could have played this team composition without making mechanically intense plays, but they did that as well. So it was a very good win from Team Liquid. I think that they should be proud of what they were able to accomplish in this game specifically. LNG against Genji. So this one, I remember I was on the highway listening to this, and it was like, oh yeah, Birdall's getting completely dominated in the top lane, can no longer play the game. Ruler supposedly still gave them some opportunities to come back and win the game. I think there was a Baron fight probably around here. I'm not going to try to find it right now. But this is why I talk about the significance of having like a hyper carry meta, or having a player on your team who's able to hyper carry, because the amount of time that Genji stalled out because of their belief in Ruler and his ability to carry the game, not every team has an AD carry who can play to that level. His Aphelios is better than probably every other AD carries Aphelios at Worlds. He probably has to be the best AD carry at Worlds. Him and Viper would have to kind of battle that one out. But I don't know why other people don't see it that way. Like when you're playing things like MF, Jhin, MF and Jhin specifically, there's really not much you can do to differentiate yourself from a skill perspective and a mechanics perspective. They're just much more simple champions, and they're not being asked to carry the game in a hyper carry kind of way. They can carry a match. They can be the reason why a match gets out of control, but it's not the same kind of getting. It's not the same type of carrying, and it's an important distinction to make. The difference is probably lost on some people, but that's one of the things that I really appreciate about Genji and Ruler specifically. So LNG basically just won this game by creating a massive advantage on the top side of the map, and then this caused Birdall to get benched, which I think that I understand why they were trying to do it. If you look at the different champion matchups that they were getting themselves into, Rascal was putting a lot of stress on their drafts, and they were able to outperform it. I think that Birdall's champion pool is probably better for Genji moving forward, but I think that they'll end up going to Rascal and being somewhat predictable, probably focusing more on trying to get like a Kennen or something like that, because Kennen just looked completely ridiculous today. Because as time, and we talked about this before the tournament started, as time goes on, teams get more and more conservative in these types of games, which makes it more likely that we'll have these gigantic team fights around Baron, around Dragon, which should force teams into team fighting, team compositions, and you'll see more champions like that probably in the next part of the tournament. And that's really where hyper carry shine, because if the team with the MF or the Jhin or the Lucian or the Draven isn't willing to punish you extremely hard in the early game, then you're going to probably outscale them. Lucian's in an interesting spot. He might be able to compete with some of the hyper carries, and the same thing with Draven. But I guess especially for Draven, you really need to like it's good. You probably can equal them, but if you want to have the advantage through bot lane and you want to have the advantage as the Draven, you need to create some additional pressure in the laning phase and really punish them for taking a late game champion, because Draven does have a more powerful early game. Mad Lions against Team Liquid. I feel like I was listening to this game as well, and I was kind of tilted. This was the opportunity for Team Liquid to kind of grab onto their destiny and be able to have more control over their outcomes in this group, and they let it slip through their fingers. I think that it was a very bad draft from Team Liquid, and the reason why I'll say that is because Jarvan is not a champion that does a lot of damage. Trundle is not a champion that does a lot of damage. TF is not a champion that does a lot of damage. You're asking the Aphelios to have a ridiculous performance against Rakan, who can charm you. So that's one champion that you might need to potentially cleanse and flash in a team fight. Kennen, same exact thing. MF, pretty much the same thing, because if she gets a good bullet time down, you have to get out or you're going to die. And then Viego and Silas always have chances to get onto the back line as well. So playing an immobile AD carry against this sort of team composition is very difficult. I think that I understand why they would want to do something like that, but giving away all of those tools to the other team without having a secondary damage source on your own team is a huge mistake. And if they wanted to play this kind of team composition, you needed to play you needed to play much more aggressive in the early game. You needed to be the proactive team, trying to create tempo plays around the map, using the TF to get a lead for tactical in the bot lane, because that's really your only true win condition in this scenario. It's just so difficult to play around. You have the team fighting team on the left, which is Mad Lions, and you have the pure League of Legends team on the right, which is Team Liquid, based off of the draft. I understand why you're trying to take away Twisted Fate. I think you're better off giving Twisted Fate to Mad Lions, because that puts an additional stress on their draft, where they need to be the one making those tempo plays and limiting themselves from a damage perspective. I think this is something that teams need to decide moving into their matchups against Mad Lions. How are we going to punish the TF? That's really all you need to figure out, is how do you punish the TF, and it makes the game much easier for you. It also kind of takes away from their team fighting ability. So those are two things that teams need to do a better job figuring out playing against Mad Lions in the next round. Then we had Team Liquid against Gen G. So this was a tilter. I mean, this one would have... I guess it didn't really matter at the end of the day, because Gen G ended up getting through, but this one scared me. I'm pretty high on Gen G, obviously. And in this spot, is this where Team Liquid stole 2 Barons? They stole a Baron, and it completely changed the game, right? Whatever. I have to go somewhere soon, so I can't really go through all this. But I'm pretty sure that Team Liquid stole a Baron away, and it completely turned the game on its head. And then they also lost a big dragon fight. I think they lost a dragon fight as well. So then Gen G was playing it from an impossible position, and that's why it's so difficult when you're playing a pure League of Legends style and you're drafting in that way. It's much more difficult, and ultimately I think that's part of the biggest. That's maybe the biggest reason why pure League of Legends teams love Renekton, is because it's good enough in most laning situations, and then you always can do your job, and you can always be a pseudo tank and a potential engage champion. You can be a diver, where when you have a lead, you can dive and cause havoc in the backline. Obviously, they had different engage tools with the Leona and with the Yone, so it's slightly different for Gen G. I don't know. I appreciate the attempt at Taliyah. They had a 5,000 gold lead, but you need to be able to convert that into a win. So this was a bad game from Gen G. I think they had all the tools to succeed in a more traditional way, and they weren't able to do it. It's not that I don't think that they can do it. It's not an ability. What's it called? It's not an inability to do it. It's just they didn't do it in this instance, and it looked very bad. So this is kind of what allowed there to be the the first tiebreaker. And then LNG against Mad Lions. This game was kind of insane. Like, Mad Lions just stomped them. And I'm honestly happy that LNG lost, like, grabbing the Ziggs and then just getting dominated. I don't know. It's just, I hate Ziggs so much. I think that conceptually it's just kind of silly. I know what they're trying to do, but I just don't like it from like a... I just don't like the theory behind it. I don't like Ziggs. That's basically it. It's just really difficult to get your damage down as that champion. Like, you need to be winning to get the most out of it. So Mad Lions was able to take that game. Genji against Team Liquid. They took care of business against Team Liquid. This game was not extremely close. And then... Actually, was it? It was a couple thousand gold difference. This was pretty risky. I think they coin flipped the Baron here. Or was it the next one? Yeah, okay, so this is where Team Liquid stole the Baron. So this actually made me think that they had a chance of losing this match. I knew that there was at least one that got stolen. So yeah, that scared the shit out of me. I thought Genji was about to crash out. But they kept it together and they were able to win that game. Again, like, the Jarvan's a big question mark for me. I think that there are other champions that do a good job, but at least they have an engage option. So that's a good thing. Like, you can play around Zoe bubbles and stuff like that, but you know, you really do want some kind of engage. And if you're forced into the Yuumi composition, you want to play a jungler that can like carry Yuumi, be a pseudo tank that kind of not turns into a hyper tank, but turns into a true tank with all the additional health from her, and like can soak up a lot of damage. So Genji managed to get through. I think that teams will probably have big questions around Genji's strength after what they saw today. Mad Lions played against LNG again in the tiebreaker. LNG had a couple thousand gold lead, and this was insane. Like, you have to give respect to Mad Lions for being able to team fight well in this situation, but LNG threw this game. Anybody who watches this and says that Mad Lions like played better for the first 20, 25, 30 minutes of the game is just crazy. Like, Ale got caught out a bunch of times, which is what's going on right now. At one point he was like 7-7. The Kennen's always doing a lot of damage, and that's nice, but he basically inted in the second part of the game where he would like continuously run into fights and go 1-for-1, or just not be as impactful as a Kennen should be. And that's why, like, even though we saw during the play-in stage that he was having good performances, he is not one of the best top laners at Worlds. And I think that this kind of proved that. If you are one of the best top laners at Worlds, and you're put into this kind of position where you had a lot of the lead that your team was able to gather during the early part of the game, you need to be able to carry this game. So yeah, I'm not trying to be like overly negative towards Ale. They did have a good tournament. I don't think that this is a reason to like get rid of them or something like that, but that's really the next evolution that you would need to see from somebody like Ale. I'm not saying that he's incapable of carrying a game hard right now. It's just this was the time to solidify that and make it something that no one's going to question in the future. But it's kind of unfortunate. I really do think LNG should have won this game. I know that some people are going to like not agree with me on that, but when you have a several thousand gold lead in a League of Legends match as a professional team with a pretty generic team composition up against another pretty generic team composition, both teams have good engage options and ultimates to play around. The Qiyana's obviously very powerful. The Gnar ultimate's obviously very powerful. Those are really the kinds of mistakes that LNG was making. It was more decision-making problems instead of like mechanical problems. And the decision-making problems are the ones that are going to get you. Because like if you miss a couple skill shots, you can still overcome that. But if you make a bad Baron call, a bad Dragon call a bad team fight decision in regards to like taking the fight or not taking the fight, you can throw away the entire game. And that's ultimately what LNG did here. Was they were trying to force engages at points in time where it didn't really make sense to like teleport flash in and try to get a kill, because there wasn't even like an objective to secure immediately afterwards. So it's frustrating. I do think that Mad Lions should have lost this match, but you have to give them a lot of respect. They were put into a spot where they needed to win out, and they did it. I think that from a stylistic perspective, it'll be interesting to see what they're able to do against Damwon again. They took them to 5 games in MSI, and they have a puncher's chance, because it's like in boxing. Mad Lions is kind of like a knockout artist, and Damwon is just an all-around good fighter. Like, yes, they can knock you out, but they can also take you the distance and win on points or something like that. But if Mad Lions gets you on the right day and connects with a haymaker, like, they can knock you out. And that's the beauty of League of Legends. That's the beauty of sports in general. Like, I don't know what the line is going to open at, but we can just go to that part then, I guess. Schedule. Or actually, let me get it in the... Okay, so this is the bracket. So, just initial reaction. I think that RNG against EDG, I think a lot of people are going to be on the EDG side. I did see this on the sportsbook, and EDG is the favorite. I think that RNG is more likely to win this matchup. EDG had a very easy group stage because they were up against 100 Thieves and Detonation Focus Me. I think that T1 is more similar to RNG than they are to EDG. I think that stylistically, RNG is more similar to T1. So they're going to be able to force EDG to team fight. I know that EDG is able to beat RNG, but what I'm saying is that RNG as an underdog is wrong. I think that they should be the favorite. Let me just get that number real quick. It was at plus 120. So I definitely think that I would want to take RNG at plus 120. And then I would probably do something like an alternative spread where it's RNG... RNG 3-1, RNG minus 1.5. I would take the alternate spread. But I could also see why just you would want to do the plus 120. But these are the points where you need to be willing to not change your mind about teams, but change how what you understand about the team gets shifted during a tournament because of public perception and what everybody else is saying. So the fact that the sportsbook would post this line as EDG minus 163 when before the tournament started RNG would have been the favorite. This is a spot where, unless there was something about these two teams that fundamentally changed during the tournament, you would want to take the value that's here, because there's probably like 6. If this was posted before the tournament started, I think it would have been RNG minus 160, EDG plus 123. They flipped the line. That's like 60 points, or not 60 points. That's $60 on the money line. Which is a big deal. I think that RNG is definitely the right side from a betting perspective going into that match. I'm going to do a more detailed breakdown of the matchups for each one of these matches, and maybe at that point my mind will change. But that's going to be a separate video probably tomorrow or the next day. And then I'm also going to do individual player tier lists and like a new power rankings of the teams that are left in the tournament, and kind of go through some of their scoreboards, trying to figure out which players on each team are playing true carry champions and what are the important matchups between these two teams. I think that we're going to see a lot of common champion trades, like trading the sides of a matchup in these kinds of series. At least to start, every series kind of takes on its own identity when you figure out like some additional champions that teams kind of pull out of the woodwork to use as a counter. So I do think that RNG is the right side there. Genji against C9. You cannot bet on Genji against C9 in New Jersey, so I do not have a line. I would assume that the line is something like Genji minus 250, something like that, minus 250, minus 300. I think that the games from today aren't going to give a lot of people like good feelings about betting on Genji. A lot of the money coming in would probably just be like, oh, well, Genji is the Korean team and C9 is the American team. I think that C9 plus maps is probably the best bet here. I do think that C9 has chances to win, but it would really come down to their money line on whether or not I wanted to put any money on it, because I would need to get a decent amount of value for my money there, because I do think that Genji is better than C9. I think that Rascal and Birdall haven't given bettors a lot of confidence, and Fudge isn't a pushover. I think that Blabber stylistically has an advantage over Clid because of the champion pools. It's not that Clid cannot play a lot of those champions. It's just that you have a team that is more likely to play pure League of Legends and a team that's more likely to play team fighting League of Legends. I think that C9 is just going to completely index into team fighting League of Legends and just try to win that way, because it's an easier game plan to execute. Yeah, so that's basically it. T1 against Homalife. This line is out already. It's Homalife plus 333. You'd be crazy not to bet Homalife at plus 333. I think that it's obviously very scary betting against T1 because T1 in the top lane has a big advantage. Kana is better than Morgan, but we haven't seen the best version of Morgan. And, I'm a Morgan apologist at this point. I understand. It's like I can't have a different opinion than that. There's no way that Morgan is as bad as people have said that he has been performing at Worlds. A lot of it's matchup dependent. A lot of it is just how the game kind of shook out. So we have to kind of look at that closer in a separate video. In the jungle, I think that Willer and Owner are pretty similar. I don't think that either player has really done a lot to impress everyone. I know that Raz was talking about how Willer has gotten better as the tournament's gone on. It's just completely not true. I don't know if Raz, doesn't watch the LCK, which I'm not criticizing Raz for that. It's just it's a stupid narrative to say that Willer has gotten better as time has gone on. His performances have been roughly the same throughout play-in stage and group stages. It's just that Raz's comfort level with Willer has been the thing that's changed the most, because as he sees more of him, he's probably more understanding of the decisions that he's trying to make, or he's just willing to give him the benefit of the doubt now because he's seen a lot of good gameplay come out of him in a lot of victories. And that's a normal thing for a human to do, to change their opinion in that way. I'm just trying to call out that it's a bogus reason. The underlying reason for that change of opinion is most likely because of the wins. And again, Raz is allowed to like Willer. It's just nothing has happened in this tournament that has caused Willer to level up or become a new player. That's just not true. Talent is very static, in my opinion. What we see, the levels actualizing that talent is the thing that is variant. But that's enough of that. Chovy against Faker. I think that Chovy, their teams ascribe to pure League of Legends for just out of necessity, because when you have a player that's this good, it warps how your team kind of approaches the game, because they want to play around Chovy and they want to do well in that way. I honestly don't have a good feel for Faker against Chovy. There are probably so many instances where these two teams have played against one another. You'd have to check to see if what T1 generally does against Chovy teams is reproducible in this meta, in this matchup. I don't know how much deeper I can really go into that matchup, because from a talent perspective, you have arguably the best mid laner in the world, or at least the top 3 mid laner in the world, against probably the best mid laner of all time. So it's very difficult, because Faker has a lot of other champions that he's willing to play into specific matchups, where it's not like, oh, Faker is so much better than Chovy. It's that T1 anticipated Chovy playing these kinds of champions and prepared these kinds of counters. that is where a big draft advantage can come from T1. The problem is that T1 is like, they also ascribe to pure League of Legends a lot of the time, and they have these ridiculous team compositions where they don't have any true engage opportunities or mechanisms on their team, and that is a big problem. Especially when you're betting on them. Like John from the esportsdepartment.com talks about this a decent amount, and we mentioned it in a few of the videos that we made, is like, you get these team compositions, they have no way to engage, they just know that, 30 to 35 minutes into the game, even if they're losing, you're both going to be standing around a Baron pit or a Dragon pit, you're probably going to be the one that tries to engage first, and then they have to react well in that scenario. It's just such a more difficult way to play. The good thing is that Homolife is kind of possibly going to do the same thing. So you have two teams playing chicken, objectives falling. This could be a really low kill score setup. But again, I should look at their interactions from this season and see, if there's some kind of actionable edge there. But my gut says, Homolife at plus 333 is good value for your money. I do think that T1 is the team that's more likely to win. And I'm in many ways a T1 fan, even though I kind of said that I would never root for T1 again after some of the stuff that happened last year. But I can't help myself. I like both of these teams, though. I think that I'd be happy with either one making it through. And then we have Damwon against Mad Lions. I think that Khan has had a very good tournament, and surprisingly, they've played carry champions in every single game. The matchups are somewhat predictable, but Khan being able to play carry champions at the level that he has is going to be an advantage against Armut. That's probably going to be something that teams or the casters and bettors overlook. I think that that's a legit advantage for Damwon, and they should probably draft around that advantage and try to get Khan as far ahead as possible. Canyon against Elyoya. Canyon's a better version of Elyoya. I think that in order for Mad Lions to get the most out of their drafts, they're probably going to need to anticipate the types of jungle champions that Canyon is going to want to play, and then pivot for Elyoya. Because if you go head to head, you're basically coin flipping a coin that is 65% to 35% or 60% to 40%, because Canyon is just a better player than Elyoya. Even if Mad Lions wins this match, Canyon is better than Elyoya, period. It's not up for debate. It's not a question. Anybody who says otherwise is just wrong, and it's there's no way to defend that position right now. It's just impossible. Showmaker against Humanoid. Showmaker is a better version of Humanoid. Humanoid and Showmaker has other champions that he can play at a higher level than Humanoid can do anything. Humanoid is a huge liability for this team. The fact that people think he's a top 10 player at the World Championships is a joke. Humanoid is probably the 6th, 7th, or 8th best mid laner remaining, and that depends on how you rank them compared to Perks and Cryan. I think that Cryan and Humanoid are very similar in terms of their ability to play champions outside of their comfort picks and TF. That's the difference between them and a player like Showmaker, is that Showmaker plays TF, yes, but also plays other things at an extremely high level. And I know that it's difficult to compare Showmaker to Humanoid because everyone knows that Showmaker is better than Humanoid. But even if you take a look at the other mid laners, I'd probably rather have. I know that I'd rather have 5 of them over Humanoid, and I think that I might like 6 or 7 of them more. I would probably take Perks over him, and I'd probably take Cryan over him as well. Perks has had better performances throughout their career than Humanoid has. Period. Full stop. The more talented player. I don't really care to argue that point anymore. I know that it's a big point of disagreement with people that are out there. But if you look at these matches and you are really going to tell me that Humanoid is the reason why they're winning games or being competitive, you really need to question what you think you understand about League of Legends, because it's just not true. He is not the impetus. He is not the engine for this team. He is not the one who is creating these advantages. He is not doing something special. And it's okay. Not every player needs to do something special. If you wanted to have an NFL equivalent, he would be like a game manager. He manages the game from the mid lane, brings additional resources, top lane and bot lane, does his job a lot of the time. But you shouldn't be considered one of the 10 best players in the world if you are doing your job and not much else. So, end rant. And then Ghost and Barrel. Ghost and Barrel, I'm not really big fans of them in general. And I do like Karzi and Kaiser, but I think that Damwon, I like the style of Carzzy and Kaiser more than I like the style of Ghost and Beryl. But in this tournament, we've seen Damwon give additional resources to the bot lane in some scenarios. That might have been because of competition. I forget which team they played Draven against and which team they played. Which team they played Draven against and which team? Oh, they played Draven against Rogue, and they also had an Aphelios game, I think. So those are two true carry champions. Like, if Showmaker is going to play TF, you're probably going to get a true carry champion in the bot lane, and they're going to play around it. They're just a very good team. But I would say that Ghost and Beryl are the game managers of that team. Like, they're asked to do their job and not much else. Except in this tournament, they've kind of been asked to do a little bit more. But when you have somebody like Showmaker who's able to not only manage the game but completely destroy the game, it's just so much easier for everyone else on their team. So it's hard to give everybody credit at the same time. You kind of need to pick where you're allotting that credit. If they went to a different team in a different scenario and were asked to do different things, maybe we could give them more credit. But just the way that the team is constituted right now, I think that's the most fair way to give credit. So that's basically it for this video. A little bit longer than I intended. I will post additional videos about these matchups and about Worlds moving forward tomorrow, and I don't know how many more videos until we get to Friday, which is when they're going to play everything. But yeah, it's exciting. A lot of great games. I do think that there are a lot of reasons to be kind of strangely optimistic about all of these teams. And I'm excited to see how it all plays out. So that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.